people's mic.
And we have
people's mic.
Gracie bought some poetry books if you'd like to read a poem. Okay. Who would like to draw a name? Gracie. Come draw more.
Don't sit out writing.
Greetings. So I need some help from, if you could just say, stay home, they said.
Stay home.
Stay home, they said.
You'll cue us.
Stay home.
Don't go to Occupy, it's too cold. You'll go to jail. You'll miss 24 and never know what new inventive ways Kiefer Sutherland will torture his latest enemy and save the world.
Stay home, they said.
There's ice everywhere. Nothing is working. Stay home. Watch TV. How cold it is outside. Everyone all together now.
Stay home, they said.
Don't walk your goldfish. E. coli are frozen in the trees. Even the malathion is cracking off. Air is crystal clear. Lungs not used to it. You will die unless you...
Stay home, they said.
It's very, very windy. Wind chill factor is minus 5,000 degrees. Whoa! Sun's too bright. Will bounce the ice. Jiggle memories. Will upset you.
Stay home, they said.
Watch TV golf from Vega Baja. Don't go out to read your poems. Metaphors will stick in your teeth and break off like stalagmites. And it will be very, very painful. Besides, your poems are really not that good anyway, and you can't afford the dentist, and you can't afford the movies, and you can't afford to be arrested. 42,000 cops on prowl today, gunning for terrorists. You may be one. And there's nowhere to throw away garbage. Bombs in the garbage cans. And there's nowhere to mail a letter. Bombs in the mailboxes. And there's nowhere to go to the toilet. Bombs in the plumbing. Especially, do not take the train. Traffic lights are stuck green. Huge chunks of ice are falling from Manhattan Bridge. Science report, cold contracts. Tracks may collapse. You will certainly plunge into East River, which is very, very cold, and no one will help you.
Stay home, they said.
Lock the windows, duct tape them. Don't look out, you'll turn into a pillar of ice. Stay home, read the calendar between commercials. Don't let nature touch you. Don't let anyone touch you. You might get smallpox. You might get mugged, you might get SARS, you might get West Nile, you might get anthrax, avian flu.
Stay home, they said.
Wait till we tell you it's safe, secure.
Stay home, they said.
Check your email, fold the flag, watch TV. Thanks.
Ooh, the suspense.
Hello. So,
Can't hear you, stand up.
Stand up.
No, I can't. Part of the reason I got this is also prevents me from standing up there. So I want to thank the Left Forum for this disability accommodation with injured vocal cords to allow me to use this megaphone for this. That was a special accommodation the Left Forum gave me. And I'm going to read this poem. It's called Even a Poet Laureate Doesn't Deserve to Get Beaten by the Police. As someone who doesn't care much about government awards or titles given to artists, I still say a 70-year-old former poet laureate of the United States should have some extra layer of protection from getting beaten with billy clubs by a Berkeley police riot squad. I once read with Robert Haas at a conference at Rutgers University on poetry in the public sphere, and thought he had some terrific environmentalist and other poems. It was inspiring to read in Sunday's New York Times that he and several poet colleagues had bravely put their bodies on the line. How did so many police officers around the country learn in unison to become so unlawful so soon after the Occupy movement was born? And who is teaching these rogue cops how to bruise and break poets' ribs, how to block and arrest journalists in their running shoes, how to pepper spray sitting students, and how to destroy thousands of books from the Occupy Wall Street Free Library? How is it that government officials and rows of men and women wearing uniforms of ceremonial blue can be so oblivious to the importance of such resonating social symbols? And why hasn't our poetry-loving president weighed in? We shouldn't have to risk our bodies. We shouldn't have to risk our physical safeties to speak our minds. Eventually, the police violence will end, and the nation's eyes will be forced to look squarely at the issues of economic justice and democracy, continuing war on racism, universal access to education and health care, deteriorating foundations of housing and jobs, how to keep the planet livable for all, politicians and elections bought and paid, being raised by the growing Occupy movement. Until then, I suggest poets exercising our freedom of expression in public consider wearing some protective padding over our vulnerable semicolons.
And let me just remind everybody, please keep yourself to 3 minutes.
We don't know that. You have to time it. Give us a 1 minute signal, like they do in...
Okay, I try not.
Just like do that. We just
I don't know how long.
just put you off. No, it's okay. You're the hook.
I will give you a 2 minute warning. I'll give you that. After 2 minutes.
That's a great poem.
All right, I burst out in poetry last July out of frustration. All right, this is a Republican love song. We're for freedom. Free doom. Our brains are encased in hardened silos. We lose swarms of robot killer insects to surveil and neutralize those who doubt the glory of our permanent war on terror that keeps Lockheed Martin, Halliburton, ExxonMobil, and Z Blackwater in continuous orgasm. Wall Street, Bourbon Street, what's the difference? Who doubt the glory of absolute corporate freedom, dirty air, filthy water, rising seas? Never mind, our constituents reside in gated communities above the high water mark of 50 years hence, drinking imported bottled water in capsule paradises of filtered air. Instead of taxes, they assess party contributions that pay for the ads that dupe the jacks to vote for the hacks who don't know shit but get the government off our backs and pay for the special ops that track the voters in danger of voting while black that Rove built. The travails of empire. They're jealous of us, these terrorists, so they fly jetliners into our skyscrapers, a reasonable way of acting out jealousy, though not to be condoned. Happens all the time between rival high school sororities. Kids outgrow it, but you can't expect Muslims to. Such a backward group. Just look at the Islamic world, those undereducated, misogynist, stagnant countries. Of course they're jealous of the greatest democracy on earth. Land of opportunity, education for all, where we elect our leaders in orderly rituals, where home ownership used to be attainable by nearly everyone. Why they're ruled by jet-setting sheiks and presidents, our great friends, charming people who keep the oil flowing, and the greatest democracy on earth, so we can drive to work, live in the burbs, and sail down our interstates to the beach. But wait, could one burning banana and peach pusher in Tunis really threaten our dream and cheap highway sailing? Our sacrament of travel? One guy who couldn't take the daily insults, who anointed himself with holy petroleum and lit a match that sparked the overthrow of our great friends, exposing them as tyrants, mass murderers, megalomaniacs, self-delude in their isolation, and without compunction to kill as many of the people they humbly serve, to continue to be able to humbly serve them, dead or alive. The rise of real democracy among people willing to die for freedom, martyrs to the future of their children, not to Allah. Glenn Beck lost 39 rating points by getting this wrong. So what did Netanyahu lose? One last short one. The war on terror. Clever Jr. Finally a war we couldn't lose. Never mind that we can't win it. Still makes money for Z Blackwater, Halliburton, Bechtel, Lockheed Martin. They never lose. America the victorious lost in Vietnam. America the invulnerable lost in 9/11. So we declared war on terror, a permanent war, a junior memorial war. 50 years hence it will help us remember him, since they'll all be jealous of us these days. These days, though, who thinks about our wars as they leak our treasure and lives, so Republicans can bemoan our national debt, while jobless college grads curse their college who duped them into becoming the educated dead. Thank you.
The poem is titled Workers' Rhapsody. So this is a bit propagandist poem, so bear with me please. All the while, freedom all the while, been oppressed all the while, exploited all the while. Set me free, incarcerate me, set me free. Always in debt, set me free. Bank dues led, set me free. Never before, mayhem forever, never before. Darkness ahead, never before. Hopeless, dejected, never before. Cannot rest, hallucinate, cannot rest. Abuse drugs, cannot rest. Competitions, cannot rest. How many years? Greedy corporates, how many years? Conservative cronies, how many years? Liberal phonies, how many years? Who bail them out? Protest, ask, shout, who bail them out? Profiteer crooks, who bail them out? Funding Obama, Bush, who bail them out? Power to peoples, redistribute lands, power to peoples, regulate wealth, power to peoples, nationalize health, power to peoples. Crisis, not ours, sold out lenders, crisis not ours, collapsing capital, crisis not ours, proving them lethal, crisis not ours. Capitalism dying, for once pay heed, capitalism dying, their media lying, capitalism dying, rich legacies crying, capitalism dying. We shall not tolerate, if owners are ingrate, we shall not tolerate. No more minimum wage, we shall not tolerate. No stopping our raise, we shall not tolerate. Ignorance, no bliss. Palestinian deaths a miss, ignorance, no bliss. Go tell truth to the power, ignorance, no bliss. Imperialist war funds terror, ignorance, no bliss. Fighting war. Homeless once more, fighting war. Shelters full, fighting war. Tanks so cool, fighting war. Smoke us out. Funders of hate, smoke us out. Evil is the bomb, smoke us out. Bring war home, smoke us out. Bring war home. Unemployment zone, bring war home. Poverty in Bronx, bring war home. Capitalism sucks, bring war home. Thank you.
I wanted to use the restroom, but it was occupied. Right? So instead, I'm going to read this poem. And you don't have to repeat after me. I love to touch. They're just too much. Them feet. Unlike the sacred bosom's tip, whose effort is the child to please, feet are free from kitty drip and the sapling's germy sneeze. Unlike the mouth with words obscene, the foot is virgin, pure and true, because it's constantly kept clean in sanitary sock and shoe. Unlike other modes of sex, they have nothing in common with Oedipus Rex. Their swerves and curves are like hors d'oeuvres, from tasty start to finish, while all the rest at utmost best are more akin to spinach. And looked upon as butt and organ, the foot is simple and complete. So given any choice or bargain, I choose you. Oh, lovely feet.
People United would never be seated.
He wants to, I don't know where the box is. I'll go put it in the middle.
I am not going to use the people's mic.
I am not going to use
I hope you can hear me.
Oh,
This
never
poem is called Horizon. The indigenous forest dweller who has lived an entire life among the trees, never seen a television set, backyard barbecue, or SUV, will have no word in his language for horizon. Take one of these by the hand, lead him out onto the ledge of a mountain to gaze over the top of the jungle, and you will be unable to understand, retreat, frightened to the world he has always known. You, who live today in a forest of televisions, backyard barbecues, and SUVs, who have never developed a vocabulary to converse about your own humanity, take my hand, walk with me out onto the ledge of this poem where we can gaze at a horizon that stretches beyond your imagination. I do not know if you will believe it, but there is no need to be frightened, except perhaps of the urge you may be feeling to retreat back into the darkness of the jungle. This is the Occupy way. You can applaud if you want to. Yeah.
Hi, gang.
And we're going to read my poem called All Over the World.
Hit it. Loud. Loud.
Okay. All over the world, women are knitting.
In Ireland?
No, in Ireland, they are knitting thick, creamy cables, each with their special stitch. So when their man is dragged out of the sea with his face bloated purple, they will know him. Now you. No, go.
In New York, they are knitting on subways with bright orange yarn, stitch after stitch, and folding up their needles, tucking them into the plastic bag inside a flowered plastic tote in time with the train wheels as the subway stops and they get off.
In England, they are knitting in airports. Not only the English, the Indians, the Pakistani, the Americans, they are all sitting in Heathrow Airport knitting. Long, indecipherable scarves for persons unknown.
In Italy, they are knitting black sweaters for the saints with the methodical care they perform upon their rosaries.
Women in Wales are knitting the dawn into peat bog afghans. Girls in Ghana are knitting tribal chieftains into unimagined legends. Women in Chile are knitting blood into the stockpile of tourniquets, waiting for the next round. Young women
in Istanbul are knitting far into the future, which is a replica of the past, and it keeps shrinking the closer they move into tomorrow.
Women in Iran are knitting insignias of the oil companies to be sewn into the covers of the coffins. Women in Ethiopia are knitting green and white and red ribbons to be worn around the hearts of those who will not recognize the outcome.
Women in Russia are knitting peaceful parables that will win the Nobel Prize with long Slavonic colors of melancholy and hearty despair.
Women in Kansas are knitting according to the latest catalog. In yellow and white, they are knitting strands of wheat into their needles, and they will fill their kitchens with the abundance that smiles, because Kansas has not been bloody since the time of the fierce old man John Brown.
Women in Amsterdam are knitting blue and white porcelain doilies that are brittle and break quickly unless purchased by tourists. Their daughters are knitting with the precision of an etching their deep brown quilts to cover themselves and their lovers against the piercing sky.
Women in Paris are knitting bright Picasso sweaters that they will never wear, because even now they do not know what makes them choose those colors.
Women in the swamps and rivers of Indochina are knitting the reeds and nettles into the steel of machine gun bullets that will explode with warmth into the bodies of the men that are cold with the ignorance of trespassing and long for comfort.
Girls in vacant towns, in between cities, in between rivers on maps, are knitting their hopes in small stitches, echoing into each other like muffled mirrors. The needles click smoothly in the language, all of the same word, over and over, that no one can read.
The same word, over and over. Occupy!
Come everyone come over here. Listen to poetry. A rhetorical inquiry into the moral certitude of cause and effect. It's for my two great nephews. People's Mic. Today we picked tulips. And stubbed our big toe. And went to war. And lost a bunch of arms. And feet and shit and gunned down 50 people. And got tired. And took a nap. And had a family. And raised a mess of kids. And picked daffodils. And scratched our finger bad. And then we went to war. We blew up some big stuff. And little stuff. And people tall. And stupid crying babies. And a whole lot of us puked. And we were buried. Where they put us. On these lame cots. And we got better. And met girls and boys. And had families. And glued pink, fuzzy bunny ears. On our sister's headband. For spring assembly. And then we killed a whole lot more people. Because we had to go to war. Because we picked lilies. And sneezed. And after you pick lilies. And sneeze. Or something. They send you to war. Don't you know anything?
I'm going to read from my brand new book, Serfs of Psychiatry, a short poem. First poem, The Geometry of Misery. I went to the asylum today, a place where I worked for a long time, but hadn't visited in 10 years. All the people were the same. There was the dwarf with the non-stop laugh, who drank coffee all day and ran around, who was without legs now and sits slumped in a wheelchair. And the math professor, who rattled off logarithms and shook us down for change, who is mute now and can't count beyond 3. And the tropical beauty with the palm olive skin, who smiled at all the men and made love for a cigarette, who is toothless now with a face that jumps with ticks. I went to the asylum today, a place where I worked for a long time, but hadn't visited in 10 years. All the people were the same.
Final reader.
It's a magic act.
It's not easy to be poetic and political. I think you've done a great job. It was fabulous. I need mic check help.
Okay.
Dark reaction. I think the terrorists caused its demise. That sea and city core writ large. Atop a building. That is out of scale. Strutting above our street. Of small brownstones. Now apprehensive of its prominence. Lease owners are no longer showing off. No longer try to flaunt their corporation. Though less than half the height. Of those brought down. This tower stands alone. And seems too proud a totem. Hopefully shame and guilt. Darkened their logo. Which we often refer to as our moon. Because it loomed so large. So pompously. Over our small backyards. And tall front stoops. That more reliable and constant lamp. Is but a sliver in the sky tonight. But no one's fearfulness. Can stop its light.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank everybody, all of our readers, all of our listeners. Please remember the next meeting of the Occupy Poetry Working Group.
April 1st, 7 p.m., 60 walls. Since I got the permission to use the megaphone here, let me say the next meeting. As Steve just said, our next Occupy Wall Street Poetry Collective meeting is Sunday evening, April 1st, 7 p.m. them at the age of 60 Wolf.
Technically.